Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with some positive and negative in stenciling on the same page, which sounds a bit weird, but I promise you it kind of works. So I have got this mask from Stencil Girl, which is a 6x6 mask, and I'm going in and I'm stenciling it as normal, or I'm masking it as normal. So I'm going in with my turquoise all over the page and just covering it completely with my paint. So when I take this off, I'm going to have a two-tone effect. So I've got the craft showing through and the black showing through. So, you know, that's pretty much normal. That's what we would do when we usually stencil. But then I decided I wanted to layer it up a little bit. So I wanted to put on this face stencil. This one is the Dina Wakley pensive. I had to think about what it is. Pensive stencil. So I decided to go in and stencil that over the top. So I'm using some night paint. And I'm going straight over where I had stenciled before, to get a silhouette happening on this page. Now this is all just playing. I didn't really know what I was going for at this stage, but I wanted to play and sort of make something interesting. I extended out the shoulder of the figure, and I've also added a little bit of roundness to her hair as well. It's just something I like to do. I like to make sure she's sort of attached to the page and make the hair look not as flat. Because I could still see the stenciling, I decided I wanted to make it a little darker, so I decided to go in with some Payne's Grey instead. So this is where I try and get a little bit clever. Whether it worked or not, I'm not sure, but I enjoyed doing it. So what I have done is put the mask down again and lined it up with my previous one. Then I have put the pensive face over the top. So I've got two stencils down on top of each other, and I'm stenciling through it again. So what this will do is I will get the effect of the full image of the original stencil with the words on it, but I've got this sort of face happening through it as well. Now because she kind of disappeared a little bit, I went back in and put her lips in again, and I also added the black to white to her eye. I deliberately didn't stencil in the eye. I wanted that to stay solid. So you've got this sort of two-tone effect of stenciling over the top by using the two stencils at once. Because I had some of my paint left over, I decided to use it on the opposite side of my page. And I thought I would play again with this. So I've got another 6x6 stencil. I have put down the black paint, and then I have rubbed away the excess. So I have done that ghosting technique, rubbing away the excess, because I really like that, but I wanted to fill in the rest of the page. I thought I would go back in, and now I'm going to stencil over the top of it. So I'm again going to get this two-tone effect by doing stenciling in a different way. So where I've got the white, I've rubbed the pattern away. Where I've got the purple, where I've stenciled through deliberately. So that's how I got the stenciling on both pages. So it's just a different way of looking at your stencils and going, how can you use them? Quite often when you see me stenciling, you'll see me just stenciling with one colour, but there's nothing to stop you with using a rainbow of colours on it. You know, you don't have to use all the stencil. You can just do part stenciling. So I think it's something to remember that stencils are a tool, and you can use tools in lots of different ways, and they are to be experimented with and played with. So don't be afraid just to have a go. Now these two pages are not my favourite pages I've ever done, but I learnt a lot doing them. There are things that I'll come back to. There are techniques I'll play again with in different ways. I'll certainly refine them in the future, but this is sort of the beginning stages of, oh, okay, that worked. Well, what about if I tried this? Okay, well, let's try putting that stencil over the top of this one. What will happen if? So it's a really great way of playing around and becoming comfortable with what you're doing and trying out new things, because that's what art journals are all about. They're this sort of safe space for us to try out new things. And if we don't like it on that page, that's great. We can go on to another page and try something else. So because I am also trying out drawing faces, I thought I would have a go at doing that. So over the top of my stenciling, I decided to sketch out very lightly with a pencil a face. I think I used a Stabilo oil pencil, which is why you can sort of see that black shading coming through. It doesn't really bother me, but if it bothered you, try using a normal regular pencil or something instead. Faces drawn like this will always look odd until you fix the eyes, and that usually means by putting in the whites of the eyes and the catch-alls in the eyes. They always look a little bit alien-esque until the eyes are completely finished. A lot of people prefer to do the eyes first and make sure that they are finished so it looks humanish as they're working on everything else. It doesn't really bother me all that much because I know that's the one area I will probably put my hands in and spread out, so I tend to leave it till later on in the process. So once I've put all my paint down, I'm now going in with some colouring pencils to add some shading. The paints I used for this, I think, were the paper artsy paints. And the reason I used those instead of my usual Dina Wakley's are because they're chalk acrylics. They are much more matte. While the Dina Wakley paints are matte paint, the paper artsy paints are actually even more matte, and they've got a little bit of tooth to them, so they're really, really good for using colour pencil over. You can get sort of some good shading and so on happening on them. So I'm just going in with these Posca pencils. They're very similar to the Prismacolor pencils, so wax-based, blend really easily together, nice range of colours, and you can busy playing around with them. So you can sort of see the colours I'm using, pinks, reds, a little bit of an orangey red to blend it together. I've also got the Stabilo oil pencil, which I keep kind of hitting and blending out. You can see I've got some dark smudges on my pages here, there and everywhere. It is what it is. I'm not very careful when it comes to that. So now I'm going in and putting in the whites of the eyes, and hopefully when I find a pen that works, you should see that it does make a slight difference to the page while you do that. I've done something odd with the right eye. It looks completely different to the left eye, or I've done something wrong to one of them, but that's okay. It's all practicing. It looks a little bit better. So just evening things up slightly as you go along. When I'm finished, when I'd finished drawing, I decided I wanted to put a quote on my page, and I decided to use this stamp, which is Dina Wakley stamp, which was "Take Me As I Am." And because I had leftover paint, I went back in and painted my page. So this is how I get my used up pages in my journal for doing practice pages like this. They're pages that have already got paint on them. So you can see in the background how the stenciling has worked. As I said, it's a different way to stencil. You can sort of get a full stenciling. You can stencil over the top of something else to get different details. Play around with your stencils. They are so much fun to use, but remember they're a tool. You can practice with them and change them around. They don't have to necessarily be used the way that we tend to use them all the time. So just play on your next journal page. Hope you had fun. Until next time, bye for now.